So hello guys, welcome to my channel. Hope you are doing well. So today we are going to discuss about the few important Java interview questions which can help you to crack the Java interviews. So let's start the session. So first question is, why pointers are eliminated from Java? So there is a few points that you can use, guys. So first point is, pointers lead a confusion for a programmer. It may crash a program easily. For example, when we add two pointers, the program crashes immediately. The same thing could also happen when we forgot to free the memory allotted to a variable and reallocate to the some other variable. And pointers breaks the security. Using pointers, harmful programs like virus and other hacking programs can be developed. And by not allowing the pointers, Java effectively provides another level of abstraction to the developer. No pointer support make Java more secure because they point to memory location or used for memory management. That loses the security. We use them directly. So the next question is, what is instance of operator and where you can use it? And in other words, you can get the another question, how to handle class cast exception. So to solve the class cast exception, we can use instance of operator. It returns the boolean value by checking source type object with given class. It works exactly as cast operator. The only difference is for sibling comparison. Cast operator throws class cast exception, whereas instance of operator returns false. So to solve class cast exception before downcasting, we should check object type using instance of operator. So the syntax is reference variable instance of class name. For example, you can see here like the object obj equal to new A is the class, and if this object reference variable is instance of class D, then it will returns true. Here is the reference variable is the source variable and class name is the class cast operator type name. It returns true if reference variable column contains each a type, else returns false. And the next question, how many methods are available in the object class? So there is 9 methods in the object class. First one is hashcode, equals, getClass, toString, clone, finalize, wait, notify, and notify all. So hashcode is used to retrieve the object identity, and the equals method is used to compare two objects of a class. GetClass is used to retrieve the runtime class object reference. ToString is used to retrieving object information in string format for printing purpose. Clone method is used to creating a duplicate copy with a current object state. And finalize method is used to executing object cleanup code just before object is being destroyed. It is already taken care by the JVM. And the next is the wait method. It's releasing object log and sending thread to the waiting state. And last but not the least, notify and notify all. Notify all about object log availability to waiting threads. The next question is, what are the difference between double equals to operator and equals method? So the double equal to operator, we can use it for comparing two primitive values, objects and nulls. It always compares object with their references. We cannot compare incompatible objects, otherwise compiler throw compilation error. In the equals method, we can use it only for comparing two objects. It cannot use to comparing primitive values and nulls. It leads compilation error. It compares object either with references or with state based on its implementation. We can compare incompatible objects using equals method. It returns false. That means we cannot use the equals method with two different incompatible objects. And the next question is, what will happen if we do not follow the encapsulation while designing a class? So the answer is, if we do not implement encapsulation, anyone can access the object data freely. Here we lose the security. Wrong values can be stored to the properties. It leads to the wrong result. When we will modify the code, every time user class code also should change. We cannot validate user given data according to our business need and also for the future changes. So user program must recompile and retest completely. So below we are going to see the example how can we use the encapsulation. So you can see here we have the two classes, that is account and employee. In the account class I have one property called salary, and I took the getter and setters for it, and I put one condition: if the salary less than equal to 0, then one message: salary cannot be less than 0. Otherwise we are storing the value in the salary variable, salary property. In the employee class we are creating one object of the account class, and there if we are setting directly the value into the salary property, so it's throwing the compilation error. And in the next part, if we are setting some negative value to the salary, so at that time it will print the message because the value is less than 0. So salary cannot be less than 0. You can see the output here, like it's printed the default value of the salary because the data type is double. Account, whenever we are setting the salary 2000, at the time it's printing the exact value what we set it before. So in this way we can use the encapsulation while designing a class. Why Java does not support multiple inheritance? So the answer is, first we'll know what is multiple inheritance. There is only one derived class that inherits the feature from more than one base class. Java does not allow more than one base class. For example, class A and class B is the base class that inherited by the class C, which is the derived class. As you can see the example of the derived class, and the parent class is base class 1 and base class 2. The problem occurs if the both classes class A and B have the same methods. As you already can see here, show data is a method which is present in base class 1 and base class 2. And if we are extending the base class 1 and base class 2 in the derived class, and we are creating one object in the derived class, and we are calling the show data, compiler cannot determine which class methods to be called. It creates ambiguity for the compiler, and multiple inheritance is the cause of diamond problem. So what is diamond problem? So let's see, we have 4 classes, class A, B, C and D. A is the base class that extend B and C, and B and C are also extended by class D. Suppose class A has method display that overridden by class B and class C. When a programmer tries to call display method in class D, then the compiler will get confused about which method would be called. This is the main reason why Java does not support multiple inheritance. So the next question is compile time polymorphism and runtime polymorphism. And you will get the another question also with the same answer. What is the method overloading and what is method overriding? So we'll check one by one. First one is method overloading. When the class has multiple methods with same name but different parameters, it is known as the method overloading. Here different parameters means either number of parameters can be different or the type of parameter can be different. So in case of method overloading, JVM can decide which method to be called at compile time based on the number and type of the parameters, right? So in the other words, what we can say is method calls are resolved at the compile time in case of method overloading. This is why it is also known as static binding, static polymorphism or compile time polymorphism. So we'll check one example. So you can see here we have 3 methods which have the same method name but different parameter type and number of parameters also. So first method, here it is, the parameter type is int. Second method type is string, and third method having two parameters, that is number and string. So if we'll call the same method in the main method, from the main method, so when we'll call the test method and we'll pass the argument 1, so JVM directly detects the method which containing the int type. So whenever we are passing the integer, always its compiler or JVM detects the method which having the int data type in the parameter. So it will call the first one, and we are passing the string value in the parameter, so it always goes for the second method because the type of the parameter is string. And the third one is when we'll pass the two number of parameters, that is one and one string, that called Java, so it will always search for the two number of parameters with the same type. So it will go with the third method and it will print the number and string. And the next one is method overriding. So child class can provide its own implementation of the method which is already present in the parent class or declared in the parent interface. Methods must have the same name but different method signature. Different number of arguments, different type of arguments, a different sequence of arguments. In the other words, when method in the subclass has the same name, same parameter and same return type as parent class or interface, then we can say that child class method has overridden the parent class. For example, let's see the picture and let's understand what it is. So here we have two classes, that is the parent one is the shape and child class is circle, which extend the shape class. And there is two more class that we'll discuss later. So as of now, will take the two classes, that is shape and circle, which has the same method, that is called draw. As both class has the common method draw, circle class has provided its own implementation of draw method. In other words, it is overridden draw method of the shape class. So along with the draw method, shape class also contain fill method, which has been overridden by circle class, but the method will be inherited to the class which default implementation. So the purpose of method overriding is very clear here. Circle class want to provide its own implementation of draw method so that when it calls the method, it will print the circle instead of shape. So we can see an example here. As you can see, there is one shape class, as I already shown in the picture, that contains two methods, draw and fill, and the circle class which is extend the shape class, and it also has one method called draw and its own implementation. And in the demo class, we are creating the object by saying shape s equal to new circle. So here what we are doing is we are calling one method s.draw and s.fill. So what the output will come for these two methods when we are calling this. So the output will circle and shape filled with color, because the shape s is pointing to the circle class, and whenever we are calling s.draw, so always it's going to the circle class and it's checking the method of here. And if already method implementation is present, so directly it will print the circle. It will not go the shape class, that is the base class. And in the next, when we are calling s.fill method, it's going to the circle class and it's checking for the fill method. It doesn't found the fill method in the circle class, so it's going to the base class and checking the fill method. And here we got the fill method, so directly we are printing the implementation of it. So the output will be the circle and shape filled with the color. So I have listed down few questions and their answer with explanation. First one is the access modifier. So what will be the output for the below code? As you can already see here, we have one shape class and one circle class which extend the shape class, and both are having the same method with their own implementation. When we'll create the object shape s equal to new circle and we'll call the s.draw method, so what will the output of the below code? So tell me guys, here method in the parent class has protected scope, but in the child class it is public. Will method overriding work here? Will it print shape or circle? So I am going to tell you the answer. So the answer is method overriding has nothing to do with the access modifier scopes. It will print circle in the above code. As a follow-up question, interviewer may ask you what will happen if I change scope of draw method from protected to private in the shape class. So the answer is it will give you a compile time error in main method where you are calling s.draw, as we cannot call the private method from outside of the class. So we'll move to the third question. What will be the output for the below code? The answer is above code will give you the compile time error, as we cannot reduce the visibility or scope of the inherited method from the parent class, that is public void draw, private void draw. So the next question we will see from the static method. So this question is not related to inheritance or method overriding, but it is the one of the favorite question of the interviewer. Many programmer gives confused look when interviewer asks this one. Have a look at this code and guess the output. So here we have the shape class, and which contains the static method called draw, and in the main method writing like this, shape s equal to null and s.draw. So what will be the output of this? Will above code give null pointer exception, or it will print the shape as output? So the answer is it won't give null pointer exception, as draw is the static method and compiler will replace reference variable with class name, that is shape.draw. So the next question is from the member variable. So from the demo class, when we are creating the object from the shape class and it's pointing to the circle class, so what will the output if we print s.name? So the output is shape, because member variable cannot be overridden. In other words, variables are resolved at compile time and methods are at runtime. So yeah, that's all guys. That's all from this video, and if you like this video, so don't forget to do like, share and subscribe. Please wait for the next video. The next video of the part 2 will come very soon. Keep watching my videos. Stay tuned. Bye bye.